This is She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. Your host, Kinsey Roberts, interviews incredible women in the wedding industry who are making their mark and creating success on their terms. Join the conversation.
Well, hey there and happy Thursday. Welcome to She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. You're listening to episode 5. I'm your host, Kinsey Roberts, and today I'm talking with Ashley Eiban from Ashley Eiban Photography. Ashley's been a wedding photographer for over 5 years. She lives in Virginia with her husband and her daughter, and I really enjoyed our conversation. We're going to talk today about how Ashley balances being an entrepreneur, being a wedding photographer, with being a mom and a wife and a business owner and all of the other activities she's involved in. She honestly had some really practical tips, not just kind of theory. It was really practical information that you could kind of write down and turn around and implement, see if it would work out for your own business. So I'm really excited for you to hear this. Let's go to the show. Hey guys, welcome to She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. This is your host, Kinsey Roberts, and today I'm here with Ashley Eiban from Ashley Eiban Photography. Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Kinsey. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. It's seriously my pleasure. I need to tell you really quick. I met Ashley at the Creative at Heart conference, which is a running theme between my guests. And the reason is because I just feel like all of the women who attend that conference have the biggest hearts. And honestly, Ashley she is certainly no exception. We sat next to each other for one or two of the sessions, and I just love her. She's smart and funny and beautiful. I love her daughter and hearing stories about her. So I know you're going to get a lot out of our talk today. We're really going to talk about how Ashley kind of organizes and prioritizes and runs her life as a business owner and an entrepreneur, but also as a wife and a mom. And I know she has a lot to share with this. So Ashley, if you're ready, we'll jump right in.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yay. Okay, great. Well, if you would, I gave the listeners, your professional bio at the beginning or at the top of the show, but would you tell us who you are, where you're from, and kind of what you do in the wedding industry?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Ashley. Me and my husband live in Central Virginia, a little town called Lynchburg. It's definitely a college town, and we both actually grew up at the coast of Virginia. So we're, about 3 hours away. And so we still love all the coast, and we're right in the middle of the mountains now, but we still just love going to the beach and all that fun stuff. So we always joke because my house is like a coastal house in the middle of the mountains, but it works. I've been married for over 8 years to my husband, Michael, and he currently works in finance, and he handles all my business, like expenses and all that fun stuff. And he also loves weather. So he always is telling me the weather forecast for all of my photo shoots and weddings coming up, which is amazing. And we have a daughter. Oh, yes, it's so nice. It's so nice to be able to know, hey, it's going to start raining in about 10 minutes. So let's walk back to the car.
Seriously.
And we have a daughter. Her name is Emerson, and she is about to turn 5 in November. And like you said, she has the funniest stories. I never know what's going to come out of her mouth. And she is so girly and loves telling people if they are fancy enough. So that's always my goal every morning when I actually get out of workout clothes, is if I make her fancy list or not.
Oh my gosh. She's so precious. She makes me want to have a girl. I have 2 boys. Emerson. That's my girl. Like,
yes.
You're fancy enough, Mom.
You need it.
I do.
Yes.
I need that in my life.
Yeah, you really do. It's so funny with all the attitude that you can imagine. She's like, oh, girlfriend, you look fancy today. And it just makes your morning.
And you're like, all right, my life is made. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh my gosh, what a sweetie pie. Well, tell us about Ashley Eiban Photography and how you really got started in business.
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of tell my age a little bit here, but
right.
It started out as a passion when there was no such thing as digital cameras. So throughout high school, I took classes in photography, and I was that annoying person that always brought my camera. So to homecoming and all of our friend get-togethers, I was always taking pictures, spending a fortune getting the film developed, and things like that. And so when I got married, we started saving up for a digital camera. And so we bought the cheapest DSLR that there was out on the market at that time. And I was obsessed. As soon as I started taking pictures with it, I loved it. And so I was always begging all my friends and people that I worked with if I could take pictures of their family or their children. And so from there, I ended up getting a wedding for a friend that they didn't have a big budget. And so I started that and I was instantly hooked. I loved that. And so I did that for a few years part-time, doing, between like 5 and 8 weddings a year while I was working full-time. So that's kind of how it started. And then you just been super blessed that it just keeps growing each year. And so I'm able to do it full-time now.
That's incredible. And what were you doing in your full-time job while you were working your photography business on the side?
Yeah, so I worked at a local college here in town. And so I did kind of a bunch of things. I worked for their online program, and then I worked in marketing as well. And so I did that, was constantly there, and it was very like structured hours. Like you had to be there from 8:30 until 5 every day, no exceptions. So it definitely was a struggle for a while doing both.
I bet. Well, and so I would imagine that, I mean, obviously, since you were doing the photography business on the side and you were working full time, I imagine your business hasn't always looked the way that it does now. So can you kind of take us through the journey or I guess the decision process of when you knew it was time to do, Ashley Eiban Photography full time?
Yeah. So when I was working, doing like 7, 8 weddings a year is a challenge, but it's still doable. My client experience wasn't great. I wasn't returning images right away, but I was, keeping up with it and having fun still, which was great. But as I just kept growing, it just wasn't going to happen. And so from that, I was able to just cut down to part-time hours with my job. I was so nervous going in and telling them, this isn't really what I want to be doing. And so can I just do this part-time? And so it was awesome that I was able to do that. And then once I last year booked 18 weddings. And then this year I cut off at 25. And so at that point it was like, I am working way too long of evenings working part-time as well. So from that, I was able, me and my husband, he's in finance, so we had to run all the numbers and look through everything. But luckily he's super supportive. And I don't know if you've heard of that book by John Acuff called Quitter. But that was such a great book in that transition period when I knew that's not what I wanted to be doing. But at the same time, we needed to be making money. And so that book was so awesome to be motivated to do what I wanted and to know when was time to say, okay, it's time to move on.
I think that's really smart, Ashley, because it's funny. I was just having this conversation with someone the other day that I think especially in the creative industry and with people starting their own businesses, that there's this really big push and a little bit of self-imposed pressure to quit your 9 to 5. And that's not always the right thing to do right away. And so I think it's really smart that you said to yourself, I do want this, but when it's right for me.
Exactly. And I think I learned so much through that because I learned how to do things quickly and efficiently. And I learned kind of what my workflow should look like. And so even though, I'd work and I'd come home and after I put Emerson down, I'd have a few hours and I would get a lot done in those few hours because I knew I only had that time to get it done.
Absolutely. And, that's a perfect segue into my next question, which is as we get in more into this interview, I would just love to know, you are a mom, you are a wife, and you're an entrepreneur. You're doing 25 weddings a year. That's amazing. And so you're busy. I mean, can you kind of give us some practical ways that you really stay organized or that you keep your schedule, I guess keep yourself on schedule is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I learned the hard way that if I don't write it down, I'm going to forget it. So I am old school. I have a paper planner. I love my Erin Condren planner is what I use. And so I write everything down. I carry that thing with me everywhere. And my husband always makes fun of me, but I have color coded everything. So I, just highlight things, or I have stickers that I put in just to keep track of everything, because between, weddings or photo sessions, babysitters, school events, there's always something going on. So I make sure that I write it down and I keep it all in one place. And then I also utilize my computer, the iCalendar as well. And so I have it in two places in case my planner ever goes missing, God forbid, or, it's not around. I always have it like on my phone or my computer as well.
That's so smart. I've been really surprised by how many people have said that they are still using a paper planner, which makes me so happy because I am also a paper planner user. So I don't feel so, I don't feel so behind the times, but I'm with you on the digital scale as well. I do use my Google Calendar, but there's
something about writing it down and seeing it in front of you to really be able to plan what your day looks like.
Yes, girl. And I love that you color code.
Yes, I'm such a nerd.
Nope, not to me. Well, okay, so let me ask you this then. If you have all these things going on, you're organizing as best as you can. Tell me, you went from working a full-time job, then to part-time, and now you're an entrepreneur. How does being an entrepreneur fit into your role as a wife and a mom?
Yeah, it is a big transition. I feel like a lot of people don't take it super seriously when they find out that you work from home or you're working for yourself. Mm-hmm. And so I quickly found out that they were expecting me to do a lot more things. My daughter's school was wanting me to volunteer more, and friends were asking me to do this or do that for them. And in modification, that's fine, or moderation, that's fine, but it can add up quickly, and you fill up your calendar and you're not getting any work done because you feel like you had all this time and you gave it all away. And so I quickly had to learn to say no, and to, figure out having like a day. I always have Mondays, I stay at home. I have no appointments. I don't go to my daughter's school. I don't do anything for those days. Those are my work days for sure. And so I'm able to do that. And then, just having like unplugged nights, being able to spend time with my family. And so that way, if she does have like a field trip that comes up last minute, I know that I can adjust and be able to go on that field trip and do things that when I was working a corporate job, I wasn't able, just to drop everything and go on those things.
Absolutely. Well, and do you think, what was it like, you mentioned that you really quickly filled up your calendar before you learned, okay, I do need to say no. How did you reconcile that? Because it's your daughter and it's family things, or, friends who want to go out to coffee. Was there like a specific, can you kind of recognize a specific time where you were just overcommitted at your daughter's school or what have you, that you were just like, okay, I can't do this anymore? And did you find it was difficult to set those boundaries with people at school and things of that nature?
Yes, absolutely. So last fall, I totally took on way more than I should, because in my head, I knew, okay, you get through the fall season and then you have nothing for November and December. And, you do whatever you can to make the money now so you can be okay in those winter months. But I was taking every family session, every friends, having newborns or everything, things that I wasn't passionate about. And I was traveling for weddings. And so by the end of that month, I was so burnt out that I feel like I didn't even get to enjoy the holidays because I was still trying to catch up from everything that I had overcommitted myself for that month. So I just started being honest with people and saying, I would love to be able to do your family pictures, but I'm not going to be able to do that until 3 weeks out. And, just when you explain it to people, they are usually pretty understanding.
Mm-hmm. That's great. What would you say, if someone's listening right now and they're a wedding photographer or they're a planner or, in my case, we own a venue. If they are the Ashley of last fall, who was just overcommitted and they're really feeling burnt out, being a mom, running their business, what are 2 pieces of advice you'd give her?
I think that the number one thing that I would say is that set aside some time and evaluate everything that you have going on in your life. So pull out your calendar, write down your goals, and look and kind of compare what's in your calendar and how those are fulfilling your goals. If they're not, then you need to let that go, and you need to not feel guilty about it, because that's taking time away from, your family or your friendships. And so learning to say no is so important. And then you're able, by having those goals written out, you're able to kind of filter in requests as you get them. If your friend is emailing you about something else, or a client even is asking you for something, you are able to just say, I'm not able to do that right now, because it isn't building up my goals. And then I think that the next thing is just having a consistent workflow. Again, writing that out. Again, I'm going back to the pen and paper, but writing your workflow out, your every touch point that you have with your client, and being able to go through that. So every time I have a wedding, I know that when they sign the contract, I'm sending them a gift. Or when I do their engagement pictures, I know what my next steps are. And so I'm not constantly in that headspace of having to try to figure out where am I with this client? What else do I need to do for them? Did I send them that gift or not? I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And so just writing that out and having that consistent workflow.
And this wasn't, I didn't tell you this question, but I just came to my mind. Do you have having a consistent workflow and kind of that, not necessarily automated, but yes, in a way, knowing, like you say, once they sign the contract, I send a gift. And once I send a gift, I do this and that. That was actually mentioned quite a bit at the conference we both attended. And so I was wondering, Do you have any resources or somebody that you learned from where if someone is newer to the industry right now, because I think in the wedding industry in general, or just in any industry, having that consistent workflow is important. But, if there's someone who doesn't have that client experience and that workflow down, do you have any resources to send them to that you like to use, or where they can maybe learn how to create their own workflow?
Off the top of my head, I think that Caitlin James has a consistency course, and a lot of that is going through like photo editing and stuff, but I think she has a good portion of that on her workflow, and going through that, I'm not entirely sure. So but I think just kind of sitting down and writing out every single touch point that you have with your client, from the time that they initially inquire with you to when you're delivering their pictures, writing all of that out and seeing how you can improve that for that client. And then, like you said, figuring out how can I automate this so my life is easier.
That's so smart. I love that. Well, and speaking of automation, you recently did a major brand overhaul and a website overhaul for your photography business. Can you kind of take me through how you made that decision and how it has affected your business?
Yes. So I got to the point where I was raising my prices. Like I said, I hit 25 weddings and I cut off my bookings this year. And so once I hit that, I knew that I needed to raise my prices, but I was getting all these inquiries and I wasn't hearing anything back from them with my new prices. So I kind of had to sit back and evaluate why is this? When I was this price, I was filling up, but now I'm not. And so from talking with other people, I just came to the conclusion that my do-it-yourself website that I created on Squarespace, while it worked for me at a certain price point, when I'm asking these high dollar amounts from clients, I need a site that's cohesive and that shows that I'm a professional and you do deserve to pay me this much money because I'm going to do a great job for you. Mm-hmm. And so once I was able to do, that for myself, I rebranded, like you said, with Ashley Profit, and it was amazing. She took everything out of my head, all the chaos, and put it all together for me. And from right away, it was like the best decision that I ever made.
And how did you pick Ashley Profit to do your design? I know that there's a lot of designers out there and branding specialists, but how did you pick Ashley?
I did a lot of research. I'm one of those that is kind of an over researcher. So I looked through a ton. I asked around to friends that had rebranded and just kind of looked through websites and looked through their portfolios. And there was a handful of them that I liked what they had created and their websites stood out to me. And so I reached out to them, and Ashley was the only one that got back to me. Out of probably 5 or 6, she emailed me back right away. And I was super impressed because her email gave me the information. And then at the bottom, it said, I'm taking the next week off to be with my family. And so I'm not going to be in the office or answering any emails, but I'll reach back out to you when I get back. And so the fact that she was able to step away from her business and say, I'm going to answer your questions and do this, but I'm also going to be with my family, that I knew right away. Like, I want to work with you. I want to be able to run my business how you're running yours.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's powerful. I love that. And once you started going through the process, first of all, let me back up. I'm shocked that out of 5 or 6 people, only 1 got back to you.
Right? Isn't that insane? It just shows the importance of responding.
It does, because, and I'm not going to share it on the podcast, but you shared with me offline at the conference how much you paid for your overhaul, or how much you paid for your new brand and your new website and everything, and it was definitely an investment. And so that's fascinating and kind of scary that there's people out there running a business, but they're not actually answering emails.
Absolutely. But I think that it was God protecting me, because I have the hardest time making decisions. And so I just kind of look at it as a blessing, because I knew, right away that I wanted to work with Ashley. And then I didn't have to have that, well, is that the right decision? Is it not the right decision? It kind of was answered for me.
That's such a great point. I love that. I love your thought process on that. Well, Ashley Prophet, and I do want to mention everything we're talking about today, listeners, like John Acuff, the book Quitter, Ashley Prophet's website, the consistency course that Ashley just mentioned. We'll have all of that in the show notes over on the shecreatesbusiness.com website. So whatever you need to look at, go ahead, head over to Ashley's episode there, and you'll be able to see all these great resources she's mentioning. So just wanted to stick that in there really quick. Well, tell me then, with your website, is there anything on your site, like a contact form or what have you, that really kind of gives you that automation that we were talking about earlier, that helps with your workflow? Like if someone contacts you through your website or something like that?
Yeah, there's a lot that we kind of built into my website. I learned that I was getting a lot of the same questions, and so we built that into my website. And I love, she did an amazing about section where they can learn about me and my family, but at the same time, they get to learn about my approach to wedding photography and like my ideal client, my ideal bride. And so right there, I'm kind of eliminating clients that aren't ideal for me, because they're able to read for themselves and say, I don't know that that's me, or brides that are like, this is so me, I want to work with her. At the same lines, underneath the details section, we, put the starting packages and what it all includes. That way we're kind of filtering out those inquiries of people that just have, a much smaller budget. Instead of wasting my time answering a lot of emails, I'm able to just kind of filter those through my website there. And then my contact form does just get emailed to me. And then from there, I have the Gmail canned responses. So I'm able to just reply right away with the information. I have like a pricing package guide that Ashley created for me. And so I'm able to just send that all through, and I'm not handwriting each email, but I'm able to answer their questions quickly and efficiently.
So smart. I love how much of your workflow you have down. This is incredible. What?
Thank you. It took me a long time to get there.
Yes. Well, I'm so grateful that you decided to come on the podcast so you could share with all of us, so that we can kind of stand on your shoulders and it doesn't take us quite as long. That's so sweet of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would not be where I am at without the help of so many others. And so I'm super passionate about helping other women, following their passions and helping them not make the mistakes that I made.
I know that about you. That's why you're here. Love it. I have a question. Do you, so you use canned responses. We talked about that a little bit. Is there any other pieces of tech that you use, like any, I don't know, softwares or project management systems that you use in your business as well?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the number one things that I use is 17 Hats. And with that, it has automated so many things. It actually links with my calendar. And so I can have it set up so it emails clients as a reminder, like, hey, by the way, we have our engagement session on Friday, just reminding you. And through that, I can also send out my contracts, my invoices. It takes online payments. It does so much, and it is all in one place. I send out my client questionnaires through that website. So it's amazing. If you don't have that yet, I would say absolutely look into that. Something, I know that there's a lot out there. There's HoneyBook and a bunch of other programs as well, but that one is great just to have everything in one place, and it's laid out great. And then I also have through my iCalendar, I have reminders set up through that for my client experience. So I know that once a client, example, signs the contract, then I'm going to send them my guide that kind of goes through the whole process through the wedding with them, as well as a little gift. And so I have it on my calendar just to kind of do that once a month of all my new clients. And so it's all in one place. And I get that reminder on one of my Mondays. That's one of my work days.
Smart. So setting reminders for yourself. That's great. 17 Hats. That's been mentioned before. So we're definitely, that will be in the show notes as well. What do you do? Okay. So aside from all of the tech stuff, this can really be anything. What are two things you're really loving right now?
Let's see. I just got the Apple Watch a few months ago, and so I am loving that because I do a lot of time blocking through my online calendar as well. And so it's great because I can turn my phone off and not have the text coming through, but it'll buzz when, that hour of blog writing is up. So I know it's time to go on to the next thing. So it helps me stay on track. And I also use it on wedding days to stay on track of the schedule, things like that. So it'll buzz, 5 minutes, the bride needs to get in her dress. And so I'm not constantly looking at my phone. Then let's see.
I was hoping you would say that about the Apple Watch because I remember you told me that. And then you also put pose reminders too, right? So that you could kind of see okay, maybe if you're like, okay, I did want to do something like this, right? You kind of put those in there.
Yeah. I have some brides that are like, I will be so sad if we don't get this picture.
Yes.
And on wedding days, there's so much that's going on that I would so easily forget. So it's awesome because I can save that on there. And so when we're, sitting down at dinner before we go out for sunset pictures, I can flip through and be like, oh yeah, this is that pose. We have to make sure we get this.
Yes, I love it. I'm so glad you mentioned that. What else are you loving?
Let's see. This is so nerdy, but I love the show Big Brother. Have you ever seen it?
No. Okay, tell me more.
Oh my goodness. It is so addicting. And this is the first year that I signed up to watch the all hours. And so as I'm editing and working during the day, I have them on my laptop just sitting there. I'm listening to their crazy conversations as they're living. And it's just so addicting to see, they're putting a bunch of strangers in a house together and they're competing for this giant prize. And just to see the strategy that goes behind it and the friendships that are formed and always guessing what's going to happen. And it's just really addicting. And I love having the background noise as I'm home by myself.
That's right. Well, and you know what? We all have those binge shows, right? I mean,
right?
Who doesn't?
Yes. Yeah, but most of them aren't on 24 hours a day. So that can be a little in trouble.
Hey, don't single yourself out. Someone listening right now is like, me too.
Yes. Good. I hope that you reach out to me because I love talking Big Brother with people that watch it.
Well, I just put it on my list, so I'm going to have to check it out now.
Yes, you really need to.
Love that. Well, as we wrap up here, Ashley, would you, if you're willing to share, what's on the horizon for Ashley Eiban Photography? Do you have any projects or offerings you're excited about or 2017 plans?
Yeah, so for 2017, I'm starting to book now, and I'm really excited because with my price increase from rebranding, I'm able to limit my weddings even more. And so I'm not going to be stretched as thin. That's great because we do eventually want to grow our family more. And so hopefully we'll have news for that coming up soon-ish in the next year or two. And then I'm also really just looking forward. I really want to start doing like a mentorship or workshops, things like that, because I'm so passionate about like cheering women on, making sure that they're following their dreams. And just because that they're a mom or a wife or they're working full time doesn't mean that they can't do things that they're passionate about too.
That is so true. Well said. I don't know how to end a podcast better than that. So, Ashley Eiban, thank you so much for being here. It was truly my pleasure and such an honor to have you. And I'm so grateful you said yes.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Kinsey. This was so fun.
Oh my gosh, you're welcome. We'll talk soon, okay?
All right, bye.
Bye, Ashley.
Thank you so much for listening to She Creates Business. Please take a minute and head to iTunes to leave an honest review so we can help more wedding pros find the show.